Hello and welcome to the Brethren. My name is Renee and this is Fictional Crafts, and it is, you may hear Blippi in the background because it's Sunday afternoon and I just got it into my head that I had to go through my entire TBR, physical TBR. So I've pulled it all off. It is full to the brim. It is absolutely full, this shelf, double stacked, and I pretty much want to read every book here, but I have this thing in my head where I would like to get my TBR down to the last 6 months. So it's not the amount of books, although I kind of like the idea of about 30-ish books, but it's more books I've bought within 6 months, because one thing I found, and that was when I got back into reading and I bought all these books, and then I'd go to read them and I literally would just be like, I'm not interested in this anymore. So I want to read within that 6 month period so I want to start trying to get my books within that 6 month period, so I do not have that. Oh, something on the camera screen. I thought it was a bit of chocolate or gunk or something. I've got toddlers. I'm always covered in crap. Hey guys, Editing Renee here. I kind of forgot to sort of say why I'm doing this video. This video is actually more for a record keeping. I want to, I think as I said, get down my books to about 6 months, like purchase date to reading. But I also kind of want to sort of have a look at what I currently have and how I go getting it down. This is not going to be the only video in this series. I'm going to have this one. I'm going to do my yarn, and I could probably even do my drafts for my writing. But yeah, so it's just this is sort of just a little bit of a record keeping video. It's just looking at what I currently have in my to read pile physically, and sort of maybe in about 12 months I might have a look at it and see how I'm going. Who knows? Anyways, let's get on with the video. Anyways, so I thought I'd do things a little bit different. I have pulled everything off the shelf. Now, I don't keep it in any particular order because I stack it on top of each other. I put my big books at the bottom, smaller books at the top. But the way I've been reading lately is I've been reading the oldest books I have bought. So not necessarily the oldest published, but the oldest books that I've had sitting there, so the longest time, except for a couple. And that's really working for me at the moment. So what I've done is I've got spread out in front of me here of all the books in the months, other than a couple, of when I bought them. So the ones that are not in those months, the books I had pre-2024. What I was also thinking I might do, rather than reading like the blurbs and that, because there's a lot of books here, I'm going to read the first sentence. I think that would be kind of fun. And if the first sentence doesn't grab us, then I might actually get rid of the book. So the first pile I have is actually a lot of self-published books. And I probably don't need to read the first pages of this because they're all writing technical books. So I have a lot of Joanna Penn's Successful Self-Publishing, Business Author, Your Author Business Plan, How to Write a Novel, How to Write a Novel Companion, and the Author Business Plan Workbook, which is the companion to the Author Business Plan. I will get around to reading these. I actually have a plan to read How to Write a Novel with Joanna Marassi's Shut Up and Write the Book, and a couple of more traditionally published authors technical books and compare them. So I will get around to them. When it comes to technical books, I've got to find brain space. So when I'm writing drafts, I can sort of deal with them. When I'm editing, I can't deal with these sorts of books. So, and all I've done lately is edit books. I'm in the middle of editing a book, and I'm in the middle of redrafting the book at the moment. So I might get around to them soon. But these ones, they're not a big deal. They're not ones that have to be read immediately. Now, another series of books I've got which are a bit out of whack for the timeline is my current books. So I physically only have one book that I'm currently reading, which is the Rabbitback Literature Society by Pazzi Imali Jalaskinian. I've really got to look up how to say their surname, and I'm really enjoying this so far. Where if on a winter's night a traveller feels like a love letter to reading, this at the moment to me feels like a love letter to writing, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually at the really good bit. I need to read this tonight. But that is the book that is currently on my TBR. And then, that's the book that I'm currently reading. And then I've got 2 books that are on audio that I'm in the middle of, and one book that I sort of soft DNF'd, and it was part of that same technical series, and that is How to Write Science Fiction and Fantasy by Orson Scott Card. Now, this was the first ever technical writing book I ever read, so I have read this book before, and I started rereading it as part of that project, and I couldn't brain it at the time. This has actually aged a fair bit. Not badly in some places, but I just wasn't ready to read it. So it's just been put to the side for now. And the other 2 books I've currently got, which are on audiobooks at the moment, is Alien Clay by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and Lost Fleet Fearless, which is book 2 of the military sci-fi Lost Fleet by Jack Campbell. They're both sci-fi, love them. I'm having fun with them. Don't need to say anymore. Okay, so now let's have a look at the books on my physical TBR, starting from... Sorry, my notes are over here. So I keep a list in the back of my diary of when I buy every book. Not necessarily physical dates, just the month I've bought them in. So the most recent month, the oldest month on this list, other than pre-2024, is March 24. So 12 months ago. So I would say this time last year, I had books that were 2 or 3 years old. So I'm working towards that 6-month goal and getting there. But I currently have, the Rabbitback Literature Society was bought in March last year, so that's one of those books. So I've got 3 more books from March last year. Now, the first one is Away with the Penguins by Hazel Pryor, and I'm really hoping this gives me the same vibe, thought process as, what's it called? Butterflies in November, by Adore Eva Olofsdotter, and that's kind of where I wanted to be when I bought this. So first paragraph is, I have told Elaine to get rid of all the mirrors. Should we do first paragraphs? I have told Elaine to get rid of all the mirrors. I used to like them, but I certainly don't now. Mirrors are too honest. There's only so much truth a woman can take. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Also from March last year is The Book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Allison. And what are we looking at here? Prologue. Mother Una tapped her fingers on her hollow wooden belly. It tied around her shoulders and the small of her back and sloped out in front, making the curve of a 9-month pregnancy. Mother Una was very old, too old to really be pregnant. Her hair was white and so short that her black scalp showed through shining. She tapped again, her thin fingers drumming so that the hollow sound echoed through the room. She clicked against the wood with her fingernails rhythmically until the scribes looked up at her. Okay, interesting. That is a dystopian. Probably a bit too topical. And the last book for this month is William Gibson's Pattern Recognition. And I'm a big Gibson fan, so I am looking forward to reading this. I actually want to read this next. So we've got number 1, The Website of Dreadful Night. 5 hours New York jet lag and Case Pollard wakes in a Camden town to the dire and ever-circling wolves of disrupted circadian rhythm. Oh, 5 hours New York jet lag and Case Pollard wakes in the Camden town to the dire and ever-circling wolves of disrupted circadian rhythm. That felt like coming home. That's next on my reading list. Okay, that's it for March. Let's jump to April 2024 now. This is going to be an ongoing series for me, this book, and that is Hirakari Murakumi's Wild Sheep Chase. That's the next book that I need to read in his entire bibliography. I really love his After Dark. I've always loved After Dark. I really enjoyed his What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. And I know there's been a lot of sort of people saying he's not the best author. I mean, he's got the classic male author gaze in some respects, but I want to read all of his books from his first all the way through to his most recent to look at his evolution from a writing point of view. And I know I'm not going to enjoy every book, but okay, so what's this? A Wild Sheep Chase, Wednesday afternoon picnic. It was a short 1-paragraph item in the morning edition. A friend rang me up and read it to me. Nothing special, something a rookie reporter fresh out of college might have written for practice. I also, I should mention I thrift a lot, so a lot of these books look well worn because they're secondhand. And I've got Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which I vaguely recall reading many years ago, but I don't remember it, so I'm going to reread it one day. Chapter 1. A merry little surge of electricity piped by automatic alarm from the mood organ beside his bed awakened Rick Deckard. Merry little surge of electricity piped by automatic alarm from the mood organ beside his bed awakened Rick Deckard. Cool. Actually has the same vibe in words to Gibson's book then. That's what threw me a bit. I also got a Scanner Darkly. Now I picked both of these up for like $2 each, and they don't even look like they've been read, which is awesome. Okay, Scanner Darkly, Chapter 1. Once a guy stood all day shaking bugs from his hair. The doctor told him there were no bugs in his hair. After he'd taken a shower for 8 hours, standing under hot water, hour after hour, suffering the pain of the bugs, he got out and dried himself, and he still had bugs in his hair. In fact, he had bugs all over him. A month later, he had bugs in his lungs. Ooh, that one sounds creepy. Okay, The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. I'm looking forward to this one. I really think I'm going to like this one. I don't think this one is translated. I thought it was, I think, when I bought it. But anyway, Chapter 1, Wolverine River, Alaska, 1920. Mabel had known there would be silence. That was the point, after all. No infants cooing or wailing, no neighbour children hopefully playing with no neighbour children playfully hollering down the lane, no pad of small feet on wooden stairs worn smooth by generations, or clackety-clack of toys along the kitchen floor. All those sounds of her failure and regret would be left behind, and in their place would be silence. Now this is a book I actually have tried to listen to on audiobook, and I DNF'd it, and I saw it secondhand and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it another go because I really did like the premise of it, and that is A Half-Built Garden by Ruth Anna Emery's. And chapter 1 starts with, "In the bad old days," the commentary said later, "nation-states had plans laid in for this sort of thing. They'd have caught the ship on satellite surveillance. They'd have gotten in the ground with steroid tents and tricorders and machine learning translators taking charge. In a crisis, we still look for the big ape, but the view from below has long since supplanted the view from above. So there were no satellite pictures committed indelibly to collective memory. Instead, the embedded water sensors near Bear Island suddenly sent out alerts for skyrocketing phosphate levels. And instead of a big ape shouting orders, the world got me." Well, so far I haven't come across anything I'm not interested in reading. This one is another Adrian Tchaikovsky, and this is Shards of Earth. I am really hoping I like this author because I want to read all of his books if I do. I'm really enjoying Aileen Clay actually at the moment, so we'll go. We'll see. Okay, prologue. In the 78th year of the war, an architect came to Berlenhof. And the last book that I picked up in April last year is The Name of the Rose by Eco. What's the first name? It was Umberto Eco. And I'm really looking forward to this. I do love me a bit of historical fantasy, and this is apparently a discussion on theology too, which sounds so interesting. I'm not going to read the whole first paragraph. It's long. On August 16, 1968, I was handed a book written by a certain Abbot Velat, Le Manuscrit d'Homme Addison Lamic traduit and... I'm not going to try to read the French. Supplemented by historical information that was actually quite scant. The book claimed to reproduce faithfully a 14th century manuscript that, in its turn, had been found in the monastery of Milk by the great 18th century man of learning, to whom we owe so much information about the history of the Benedictine order. This is going to be a mouthful, and I'm probably going to love it. Okay, May. I keep looking at my notes because I have no brain today. So May was a bit of a big month for purchasing. Bear in mind, these are just the books that I still have. I have read a few from some of these months. So we have, I've got a lot of indie books this month. The Book 1 in the Sunken Spaceship series by Anthony J. McCloray. The only problem is if I really enjoy these, a lot of these series have like 15, 16 books. I dove into the black, icy water. No matter how many times I went free diving at night, the cold never failed to send its shockwaves through my lungs. My muscles always stiffened in that moment when my face plunged under the waves. But those feelings of discomfort faded with every pump of my fins kicking me deeper through the 30-foot-long strands of kelp thrashing in the currents. The densely packed stalks of habit wrapping around... Densely packed stalks had a habit of wrapping around my body as I pushed between them, kind of like a kraken's tentacle. I don't want to know what a kraken's tentacle feels like wrapping around someone's body. Apparently I do now. Battleship Chronicles by L. Eclair. Book 1, Stars Call. Another indie book, which I'm looking forward to reading. This is a prologue. You had to make a scene, Spencer muttered. Officially, the man didn't exist. The only things I knew about him were that he was short, skinny, and part of one of the most notorious organisations in the fleet. He also sweated a lot. You couldn't just accept your demotion and go along with it. Oh, yeah, that's... There we go. Okay. Looking forward to that. Star Scrapper by Shaney and Goodwin. And there we go. Okay, chapter 1. Debris clattered in onto the metal floor in front of me, and slammed. Debris clattered in the metal floor in front of me and slammed against my back. The thick jacket providing only a modicum of protection. One chunk of dirt crunched on my headlamp, knocking it ajar and coating my face mask in dirt. I fixed the light, the beam pointing down the decaying starship towards my prize, or theoretical prize anyway. Okay. Well, it is about scrapping a scrapper. The kids are right. Okay, so this one is Out of the Ice by Anne Turner. I believe this is a thriller. But it's got ice in it. I think it's based around Antarctica. Yeah, an Antarctic island. Okay. Penguins the size of small children, plump black and white bodies, robust little wings propelled out of the sea and flew high onto the pack ice, chattering wildly beneath an Antarctic sky so vast and pale and clear that it looked like it might shatter at any moment. The air was freezing, but there was no wind, so I hauled off my solar fleece jacket. Polar fleece jacket and shivered in my t-shirt, relishing the freedom after being indoors at base. Through the long winter months, when the sun was just a lonely glow beneath the horizon, I'd taken a stint as station leader, making sure the machinery and skeleton staff of plumbers, engineers, carpenters, doctor and cook kept whirring along. It was exhilarating to be back in the field, drinking in the sparkling light. Yep, keeping that one. Okay, and this is Camelia Lackberg's The Ice Princess, which I believe is also a thriller. 1. The house was desolate and empty. The cold penetrated into every corner. A thin sheet of ice had formed in the bathtub. She'd begun to take on a slightly bluish tinge. He thought she looked like a princess lying there, an ice princess. Oh, yeah. Okay. I also think that might be a procedural. And then we have Saltblood by Francesca de Torres, which from memory is a retelling of a pirate history. Prologue, March 1721. Tell me your crow name. Tell me the name you will wear to the bottom of the sea, the name shaped to fit every part of you, instep and underarm, the exact curve of your ear. Tell me the name you hear someone calling in a dream and wake with your mouth already open to reply. Tell me the name the crows will say, black voice, because everybody knows a crow cannot lie. I'm so looking forward to all these. Okay, so I actually technically bought The Left Hand of Darkness and The Dispossessed this month, but I got 2 copies of Left Hand of Darkness. One was a brand new copy, and one was an old vintage copy that I picked up for about $1, and so was The Dispossessed. Now, I am not going to read those copies because it will fall apart. They are pretty delicate looking. So I'm planning on actually getting The Dispossessed again in a more new binding, but Ursula K. Le Guin's Left Hand of Darkness. I cannot wait to get to this book. I absolutely adored her Earthsea, and as the fact that I love sci-fi more than fantasy, I'm very interested in getting to this book. Okay, what's this? A Parade in Erythrain? I'll make my report as if I told a story. For I was taught as a child on my homeworld that truth is a matter of the imagination. The soundest fact may... That took a while to come through. Okay. I'll make my report as if I told a story, for I was taught as a child in my homeworld that truth is a matter of the imagination. The soundest fact may fail or prevail on the style of its telling. Like that singular organic jewel of our seas, which grows brighter as one woman wears it and worn by another dulls and goes to dust. Facts are no more solid, coherent, round and real than pearls are, but both are sensitive. Ooh. I just feel like I've got a really good collection of books at the moment. This one, not so much. I think I've actually tried to read this and I ended up putting it back down. And the only reason I've kept it is because it was a Hugo winner and I want to give it another go. So this is Where Late the Sweet Birds Sang by Kate William. I never get this name right. What David always hated about the summer family dinners was the way everyone talked about him as if he was not there. I don't know. I'll give it one more go, and if I don't read it, I'll get rid of it. And the last one that I bought this month, what was it, May, is Places in the Darkness by Chris Brookmere, which I believe is a sci-fi thriller. Or sci-fi horror? One Deadly Crime. No, sci-fi thriller. And prologue. Some assembly required. Consciousness does not exist, says Mehmet. Jenna has just caught up to her lab partner as they glide along the main 2-level conduit inside the axle, his eyes betraying that his focus is not entirely fixed on his immediate environment. He is reading something on his lens. Okay. Another big purchase month is right here. And that is June of last year. So the nice, quick, easy ones, I won't read from these because they're not book ones, but that is the rest of the Lost Fleet series. So 3, 4, 5, and 6. I've already read book 1. I'm currently reading book 2. I am loving them. I love me a good military sci-fi, which is what they are, of course. Okay, I also got these books, A Life's Work by Rachel Cusk and Aftermath by Rachel Cusk. And if I like these, I'll go back and I will get some more of her books. Let's get to the first 40 weeks. Here we go. 40 weeks. In the changing rooms at the swimming pool, you can see the bodies of women. Naked, they have a narrative quality, like cave paintings, a quality muted by clothes and context, a quality seen only here in this damp municipal place where we are grouped anonymously by gender. I believe that's about having her kids, and I believe Aftermath is about her marriage breakdown. Yes. Recently my husband and I separated, and over the course of a few weeks the life that we'd made broke apart, like a jigsaw dismantled into a heap of broken edged pieces. I'm kind of hoping she will turn out to be my female Marakumi, that I'll just want to read her entire bibliography. Then we have Charles Stross, Accelerando, which is meant to be a very difficult to read sci-fi. I believe it's hard sci-fi, and I can't wait to give it a go. So, number 1, Lobsters. Manfred's on the road again, making strangers rich. It's a hot summer Tuesday, and he's standing in the plaza in front of the central station with his eyeballs powered up and the sunlight jangling off the canal, motor scooters and kamikaze cyclists whizzing past, and tourists chattering on every side. The square smells of water and dirt and hot metal, and the fart-laden exhaust fumes of cold catalytic converters. The bells of trams ding on in the backyard, and birds flock overhead. He glances up and grabs a pigeon, crops the shot, and squirts it at his weblog to show he's arrived. The bandwidth is good here, he realises, and it's not just the bandwidth, it's the whole scene. Amsterdam is making him feel wanted already, and although he's fresh off the train from Schiphol, he's infected with the dynamic optimism of another time zone, another city. If the mood holds, someone out there is going to become very rich indeed. He wonders who it's going to be. Oh, that feels very sub-punky. Treading in Danger by Elizabeth Moon. Moon is one of my favourite authors, and I never did getting around to reading. I love her Deed of Paxenarian, and I never gotten around to reading her sci-fis, which she has more of than fantasies, I believe. So I think I own pretty much every one of these on audiobook, but if I remember correctly, the audiobook narrator was horrendous and I hated it and I couldn't listen to it. I think it's this series. It's either Trading in Danger or it's another series I'm thinking about, which has also got about 15 books in it. Carlara Vada came to attention in front of the commandment's desk. One sheet of flat copy lay in front of him, the print too small for her to read upside down. She had a bad feeling about this. On previous trips to the commandment's office, she'd been summoned by an icon popping up on her desktop. Those had all been benign visits, the results of exams passed in the top 5% or prizes won, and the commandment had greeted her with the most thought of his several frosty expressions. I'm looking forward to reading that one. Okay, now this one I won't read from because this is Zero History. So this is book 3 of the Blue Ant series, where pattern recognition is book 1. But yes, I saw it, I grabbed it. I'm very happy that these match. However, I recently got book 2 and they don't match. So if I like it, I'm going to have to deal with that. And then we have my only other Murakami book that I currently have, which is After the Quake, which I believe is a series of short stories. I think it is. But yeah, After the Quake, UFO in Kushirio. 5 days straight she spent in front of the television, staring at crumbled banks and hospitals, whole blocks of stores in flames, severed rail lines and expressways. She never said a word. Sunk deep in the cushions of the sofa, her mouth clamped shut. She wouldn't answer when Kimura spoke to her. She wouldn't shake her head or nod. Kimura could not be sure the sound of his voice was even getting through to her. I believe this is a series of stories after the 1995 Kobe earthquake. Yeah. So, and then I have Literary Theory by Mary Calegs. I won't bother reading from this. It's non-fiction. It's about literary theory when you want to sound big-brained. And then I have The Scorching by Nick Snape. I really got to get around to reading this. I even have a bookmark in here because I wanted to read it soon and I never got around to it. Prologue. A red haze lit the ocean, a stunning radiance that desperately tried to raise the beauty of the brown scum that rode the water's surface, a display of nature's wonder as the sunlight broke into shards above the horizon. My only issue with this is that this cover doesn't exist anymore. The author updated it, and so if I enjoy it and buy the other 2 books, it's not going to match to it. I also have Mission of the Rorark by Erica Everine. That was self-published. This is self-published. Key terms, author's note. Chapter 1, Cratrix. Cratrix gazed across the open sunny fields of the alien world of Drenna. The farmers he protected tended to their crops in the heat of the late afternoon. He knew the toll gardening had on one's body. Having grown up as a farmer's son, it could be him breaking a sweat over the rows, but instead he stood there as a protector. And then the last book for this month was Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay, and this is a very very famous Australian book, which I have never actually read. So I think watching the movie was required in school, but never got sat down and read the book. Number 1. Everyone agreed that the day was just right for the picnic to Hanging Rock. A shimmering summer morning, warm and still, with cicadas shrilling through the breakfast from the loquat trees outside the dining room windows, and the bees murmuring above the pansies bordering the drive. Heavy-headed dahlias framed and drooped in the immaculate flower beds. The well-trimmed lawns steamed under the mounting sun. Already the gardener was watering the hydrangeas still shaded by the kitchen wing at the rear of the college. Oh, bloody nose. Okay. What am I up to? That was June. Yes, that was June. Did I say May? I meant June. And then we have July, which thankfully was quite small. Only 3 books. So I have Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. Progress Report, March 3. Dr. Stress says I should write down what I think and remember everything that happens to me from now on. I don't know why he says it's important, so we'll see if they can use me. I hope they use me because Miss Kinahan says maybe they can make me smart. I want to be smart. Ooh, that was all mistyped as well. I believe the text improves like as he gets smarter. I want to read that. Okay. I also have Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I think this might be the first fantasy book I've got in my pile here. Book 1 of the Ancestor. Red Class. Prologue. It is important, when killing a nun, to ensure that you bring an army of sufficient size. For Sister Thorn of the Sweet Mercy Convent, Lano Taxis brought 200 men. Assassin nuns. I mean, it's going to be good, isn't it? Okay, and this one is Shaney and Mixon. This is The Last Hunter, which is an independently published military sci-fi series. And I really am looking forward to getting into this one. Okay, Captain Jack Romanoff reflexively suppressed a mild whole-body twitch as the Confederation Navy cruiser Hawkwind jumped through the quantum gate and into the Falst system. He'd done the kind of jump hundreds of times, and the sensation always made him slightly queasy. I can't wait to get to that one. Okay. Then, August. I actually have read a few books from my August 24 purchasing. I've only got 2 left. One is Steering the Craft by Ursula K. Le Guin, which is a technical writing book. And the other one is an independently published fantasy book called The Crown of Oaths and Curses. And I saw, can't remember who it was, a YouTuber reading it, and they really enjoyed it. And I'm not really into romantasy, which is where I sort of think this one's going. Oh, it's by Jay Bree too. But I thought it's only a duology, so I'll give it a go. So 1, Rook. As waves lapped the sides of the Shepherd, I ignore all the eyes trained on me and enjoy the last moments of my journey home to the southern lands. It is the last piece I may know. Ooh, it's in first person. Okay, I am going to give it a go. I'm not the biggest first person fan. Okay, and then we jump to September 24. So September last year, I picked up Wifedom, which is by Anna Funder. And I believe it's her looking at like women who've been behind famous men in history. I wouldn't call it a journey through that sort of thing. But yeah, and then we have Peter F. Hamilton's Manhattan in Reverse. I believe this is a short story collection. Watching Trees Grow. Watching Trees Grow. If I was dreaming that night, I forgot at the instant when that blasted telephone woke me with its shrill two-tone whistle. I fumbled around for the bedside light, very aware of Miriam shifting and groaning on the mattress beside me. She was 7 months pregnant with our child and no longer appreciated the calls which I received at strange hours. Yes, my darling boy.
It's my turn.
It's your turn.
I'm Octonaut.
You want Octonauts?
Octonauts to the rescue.
Okay, come on. It is time for Octonauts. Okay. The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. Chapter 1. Her name is Melanie. It means the black girl from an ancient Greek word, but her skin is actually very fair, so she thinks maybe it's not such a good name for her. She likes the name Pandora a whole lot, but you don't get to choose. Miss Justinu assigns names from the big list. New children get the top name on the boys' list or the top name on the girls' list, and that, Miss Janistu says, is that. Okay. I'm trying to be quick now, because I've got to finish this and go do washing. Ian M. Banks, The Algebrist, which I vaguely recall buying a copy when it first came out, and I never read it, and just along the years it's just disappeared from my collection. I did get rid of a lot of books at one point. I have a story to tell you. It has many beginnings and perhaps one ending, perhaps not. Beginnings and endings are contingent on things anyway, inventions, devices. Where does any story really begin? There is always context, always an incomparably greater epic, always something before the described events, unless we are to start every story with bang, expand, shh, then itemize the whole subsequent history of the universe before settling down at last to particular tale in question. Similarly, it is no ending is final, unless it's the end of all things. Oh. Now I remember why I wanted to read that. Okay, The Wolf and the Watchman by Nicholas Nat Olstark. I think this was a cover purchase. Because, wow. Watchman Mikhail, please wake up. As an agitated shaking rouses Cardell from his slumber, he feels a fleeting ache in the left arm he no longer owns. A carved wooden hand has taken the place of the missing limb. His stump rests in a hollow space inside the beechwood, attached at the elbow with the aid of leather straps. They are cutting into his flesh. He should know better by now and have loosened them before nodding off. What's this? Okay, so this is a series, Wanderer and Wanderer Symbolic. These are independently published books. I grabbed these, found these secondhand. We'll see. Chapter 1. Francesca straightened her long legs as best she could in the plane's cramped confines, the familiar tingling and numbness peaking before it eased as the blood struggled to return to her toes. There was also a sharp, prickling sensation just below her right knee. This was new. She rubbed it with her long fingers, careful not to snag her sheer pantyhose. Long gone were the days when she would leap up before the interstate jet had come to a rest at the terminal, eager to retrieve her luggage and secure a good spot in the narrow aisle, using 1 part hip and shoulder, 1 part charm. And book 2. I'm not going to bother reading from book 2. Potentially Dangerous, Stephen King's Dark Tower. Book 1, The Gunslinger. I struggle with Stephen King as an author. I do like The Stand. I really do like The Stand. So this is probably going to be my last attempt at Stephen King, because everyone tells me how amazing this series is. So if I cannot get into his writings with this series, I think I might just give up on Stephen King. So this is number 1. The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. And that's the first sentence and the first paragraph. I really do hope I like it. And then Winter by Simon Brown. This is a sci-fi from memory. I think it's dystopian as well. Sydney AD 2027. Prologue, Cannibals of the Fine Light. Harry Beetle heard Angie McAllister whisper something about sunsets, but her soft voice drifted on without really registering in his mind. I just like that it's quite small. It's not even 300 pages. So, I do like science fiction that's concise. I wish I could write better so my stuff was more concise. Simon R. Green, who is a favourite author of mine. Now, I've never read his Deathstalker books, which are his sci-fis. I've read his worlds, like his Ghost World. There's a couple of them. But this is the Deathstalker Prelude. Mistworld is another one. So, Chapter 1, Ghost in the Night. A low gusting wind came moaning out of the north, unsettling the snow-flecked mist that filled the narrow Missport streets. Lamps and lanterns hung at every door, burning yellow and red and orange against the endless sea of grey. The mists were always at their thickest in the early hours of the morning, before the rising of Mistworld's pale sun. Ooh, I can't wait to get into that. I love his Blue Moon Rising series. I adore his Blue Moon Rising and the Hawk and Fisher series, which goes with it. I really got to get around to rereading those. Now we are into... That was September. We're into October. We're getting there. We are getting there. So, Distress by Greg Egan. Hard sci-fi, I believe. Number 1. Alright, he's dead. Go ahead and talk to him. That's glorious. I like that one. Okay, and then we have Time and Space by Stephen Baxter. I am not sure which is the first one. I think it might be Time. Yes, The Manifold 1. Reed Malenfant. You know me and you know I'm a space cadet. You know I've campaigned for, among other things, private mining expeditions to the asteroids. In fact, in the past, I've tried to get you to pay for such things. I've bored you with that often enough already, right? Okay. Sounds like he's talking to a crowd. Oh, someone stopped reading it at page 79. And then I have book 5, Before We Forget Kindness. Now this is going to be a make or break for this series. For this is the 5th book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. I really adored book 1. I kind of liked book 2. 3 and 4 were starting to feel a bit diminishing in returns. So I'm really, really hoping this one sort of re-elevates the series for me. So number 1, The Sun. The cafe could take you back in time. The cafe that could take you back in time was in Jimboko, a district of the Kandar area in Chiyoda City, Tokyo. It was a little way from the nearest station, and its sign was placed outside in one corner of a quiet, narrow alleyway. So we're back at the original cafe as opposed to being at the one that's in the mountains. And the last book for that month was Terry Pratchett's Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter's The Long Earth. I did not know that Terry Pratchett wrote this. I saw it and I grabbed it. 1. In a forest glade. Private Percy woke up to birdsong. It was a long time. It was a long time since he had heard birdsong. The guns saw to that. For a while he was content to lie there in the blissful quiet. Sir Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter. I cannot wait to give that a go. And then jumping into November, when I was pulling these out, I've realised I've bought one book twice. It's okay though, because if I really love it, then I won't mind having 2 copies of that book. But this one is not that book. This is The Swarm by Frank Schalzing. And from what I understand, it's bio-sci-fi thriller. And it just sounds completely and utterly up my alley. So, prologue, 14th January. Hanachu, Peruvian coast. Joanne Nasico Uncanian went to his fate that Wednesday and no one even noticed. A few weeks later, the circumstances surrounding his sudden disappearance sent shockwaves around the globe, but Unakan's name wasn't mentioned. He was the one of many, too many. What he experienced in the early hours of that morning had been going on elsewhere all over the world. The parallels were striking. Once you knew what had happened, and only Unakan did. Maybe the fisherman, with his simple way of seeing things, had even sensed the more complex connections. But in the absence of his evidence, the mystery went unsolved. Neither he nor the Pacific Ocean on the Huanchuchu coast in the north of Peru gave anything away. I won't keep reading it, but look at that. How many pages is this thing? It's a beast. 881. I also grabbed The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. Chapter 1, here we go. In 1972, I was 16, young, my father said, to be travelling with him on his diplomatic missions. He preferred to know that I was sitting attentively at class at the International School of Amsterdam. In those days, his foundation was based in Amsterdam, and it had been my home for so long I had nearly forgotten our early life in the United States. It seems peculiar to me now that I should have been so obedient well into my teens, while the rest of my generation was experimenting with drugs and protesting to the imperious war in Vietnam. I had been raised in a world so sheltered that it makes my adult life in academia look positively adventurous. Okay, I believe it's like a academic vampire, like Bram Stoker style, like following the legend of Vlad the Impaler or something. And I got The Starless Sea. Now this is the book I've picked up twice, because I literally picked up a copy this week, forgetting that I'd bought this one. But this was $3 and that copy was like $2, so it's fine. Chapter 1, Sweet Sorrows. Once, very long ago, there is a pirate in the basement. The pirate is a metaphor, but also still a person. The basement could be rightly considered a dungeon. The pirate was placed there for numerous acts of piratry nature considered criminal enough for punishment by those non-pirates who decide such things. I really enjoyed The Night Circus, so I'm willing to give this one a go. But, yeah, this is the big floppy edition. And then I got the edition that actually matches my Night Circus as well. I'll show you that one when it comes to it. So that was November. And then in December, also a very lean month, which was good. I was trying to be lean. I picked up Ice Station by Matthew Riley. This feels heavy. It's one of those books that just has a heavy feel. Okay, intro. And then Ice Station, here we go. Prologue. Wilkes Land, Antarctica, 13th of June. It had been 3 hours now since they had lost radio contact with the 2 divers. There had been nothing wrong with the descent, despite the fact that it was so deep. Price and Davies were the most experienced divers at the station, and they had talked casually over the intercom the whole way down. Okay. I've got the big pile in front of me. I've got to now put all this back after this. And then I have Watership Down by Richard Adams. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I want it to terrify me and just give me absolute trauma from remembering the movie when I was a kid. Number 1, notice board. the noticewood. The primroses were over, toward the edge of the wood, where the ground became open and sloped to an old fence and a brambly ditch beyond. Only a few fading patches of pale yellow still showed among the dog's mercury and the oak tree roots. On the other side of the fence, the upper part of the field was full of rabbit holes. In places the grass was gone altogether, and everywhere there were clusters of dry droppings, through which nothing but the ragwort would grow. Hundreds of yards away, at the bottom of the slope, ran the brook, no more than 3 feet wide, half choked with kingcups, watercress, and blue brookline. The cart track crossed by a black brick culvert and climbed on the opposite slope to a 5-barred gate in the Norththorn ledge. The gate led into the lane. I am looking forward to reading this. I want it to give me as much trauma as the movie did. I believe it will give me more. And then I've got River Kings by Kat Jarman, which is Vikings from Scandinavia to the Silk Roads, which I believe is about the Vikings going into the east. Non-fiction. And then I didn't get anything in January this year. I didn't buy a single book. But in February, I got Foxfire and Wolfskin and Other Stories of Shapeshifting Women by Sharon Blackie. And this is, I must admit, this is not as big as I expected when it turned up. Okay, so the first one is The Last Man Standing. He should have been down from the hill by now. He'd been gone too long. She turns away from the window, wipes her wet hands on the tea towel. She's learnt not to worry over the years, or rather, not to fuss. There's nothing he hates more than a fuss. But he's been gone 3 hours now, and she still hasn't heard the shot. And then I've got another history, Children of Ash and Elm, a history of the Vikings. Yes, you can see a theme. Not as floppy as I would like, but we're getting there. Another non-fiction, The New Menopause by Dr. Mary Claire Haver. I'm at that age. I will get around to reading that one hopefully soon. And then I've also got Valkyrie, The Women of the Viking World. Another history about women in the Viking world. Yes, I'm hyper-focusing. Let's not go there. Then I have two of my favourite authors wrote a series together. And I didn't know about it until this year. And then I found the first book, in my favourite thrifting shops. So there's a reason it's my favourite thrifting shop. So I have Sassenach, Anne McCaffrey, and Elizabeth Moon's Planet Pirates. Now I believe the second book is written by Anne McCaffrey and someone else, and then the third book is Anne McCaffrey and Elizabeth Moon together. So, I don't, but it's Space Pirates, so I have to. Book 1, Chapter 1. By the time anyone noticed that the carrier was overdue, no one cared. Celebrations had started 2 local days before when the last crawler train came in from Sabine. Sassenach, along with the rest of her middle school, had met that train, helped offload the canisters of personal-grade cargo, and then wandered through the crowded streets. Looking forward to reading that. This feels like I'm going to be going back home. 2 of my favourite authors, their style of writing, all of that. Another non-fiction, so to speak, The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Never gotten around to reading it. Saw it secondhand for a couple of bucks. Picked it up. Now, these are 2 books that I'm hoping that if they're good, I'll end up putting them in the kids' library, but I like to read them first to make sure. You Don't Know What War Is, The Diary of a Young Girl from Ukraine, Yveta Skolieska. I think this one's going to be a very important book to have around the house. And not a forward for now. Prologue. Everyone knows the word war, but very few people understand what it truly means. You might say that it's horrible and frightening, but you don't know the true scale of fear it brings. And so when you suddenly have to face it, you feel totally lost, walled by fright and despair. All of your plans are interrupted without warning by destruction. Until you've been there, you don't know what war is. Ooh. what I get the feeling this one's going to be very hard to read. The other book I picked up, which I thought might be good for the kids, is How to Be by Bren McDibble. YA bio dystopian, I think. Pelony Pest. Today it's here, bright and real and waiting. The knowing it bursts into my head so big and sudden, like the crack of morning sun busting through the gap at the top of the door. I fall out of my bunk and hit the packing box floor. I scramble up, right into Gramps, asleep in his chair in front of the potbelly stove. I believe the basis is the bees are no longer doing... The bees have died out, and so they now use kids to pollinate the food, to climb the trees, and yeah, so a bit of dystopian / bio stuff. Neil Asher, The Soldier. Neil Asher is pretty prolific in the sci-fi world, and I've never gotten around to reading any of his stuff. I mean, look at how many books he's written. And I saw it, it's book 1 of the series, and I thought, well, give it a go. Give it a go. Chapter 1. Heyman. That's a big thing. Okay, there it is. Marco's ship surfaced from the faster-than-light continuum of underspace into real space, and was quickly back within Einstein's laws. His vessel came to an abrupt stop in a permitted zone, lying 5 light minutes out from musket shot, a dark planetoid whose mass was over 50% lead. Had Marco surfaced his ship just a few thousand miles outside this spot, it would have lasted a little over 4 microseconds, so he had once been told by the artificial intelligence Pragus. That was how long it would take for the 3-foot wide particle beam to reach the ship from the weapons system watching that area of space. Yes, baby? Chocolates.
Mum, can I have more biscuits? Just one more chocolate, please.
You've melted the chocolate in this. You've been sitting there holding it so long, it's melted. Come on.
It's soft.
Yeah, well, you don't want soft chocolate. Soft chocolate gets all over fingers and faces. Oh dear. Okay. I think I'm about to run out of space. And the last book on Feb was Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I have tried to listen to this on audiobook and I just wasn't getting on well with it, but give it a go. I really enjoyed her Uprooted. The real story isn't half as pretty as the one you've heard. The real story is the miller's daughter with her long golden hair wants to catch a lord, a prince, a rich man's son, so she goes to the moneylender and borrows for a ring and a necklace and decks herself out for the festival. And she's beautiful enough so the lord, the prince, the rich son man notices her and dances with her and tumbles her into a quiet hayloft when the dancing is over, and afterwards he goes home and marries the witch woman his family has picked out for him. Then the miller's despoiled daughter tells everyone that the moneylender's in league with the devil and the village runs him out, or maybe even stones him, so at least she gets to keep all the jewels for a dowry, and the blacksmith marries her before that firstborn child comes along a little early. I actually might enjoy that one. I just got to give it some time. Okay, now this is March. Now this book I actually decided to DNF, went to put it into a little library, and then went, I'm going to give it one more go. And that is The Voyage of Phidias by Tamara Goranson. And the biggest issue I have with it is they have abuse in it. And it's not because I can't handle abuse in my books, it's because it's based on Vikings, and Vikings had divorce for a reason. The icy wind whistled past my ears, whipping my unruly red hair into my face as I clamber out of my hiding spot, panting heavily. It has taken months to plot a course to freedom. It could take only moments to lose it if my husband finds me here. We'll see. We'll see. I'm just going to keep going. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Izugaru. Chapter 1. My name is Kathy H. I'm 31 years old and I've been a carer now for over 11 years. That sounds long enough, I know, but actually they want me to go on for another 8 months until the end of this year. That'll make it almost exactly 12 years. Now I know my being a carer for so long isn't necessarily because they think I'm fantastic at what I do. There are some really good carers who've been told to stop after just 2 or 3 years. And I can think of one carer at least who went on for all 14 years despite being a complete waste of space. Modern lit. We'll see. Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. Oh, God. Part 1, His Immaculate Origin. Once upon a time when the world was young, there was a Martian named Smith. Valentine Michael Smith was as real as taxes, but he was a race of one. Waters of the World. I believe this is about, by Sarah Dry. I believe this is sort of looking at the Earth's climate as a whole. Another edition of the Starless Sea. But this is the one that matches my Night Circus. So I might read the other one and keep that one. Radiance by Catherine M. Valentine. This one really intrigues me. Come forward, come in from the summer heat and the flies, come from that assault on all sentence, that pummeling of rod and cone and drum and cilia, come in from the great spotlight of the sun sweeping across the white sands, making everyone, and therefore no one, a star. Cool. I'm looking forward to trying that one. Spit Country, Book 2 in the Ant series. Okay. SD card clearing and child management break achieved. 3 more books. Okay. Book 4 of the McMurdo series. This is the McMurdo Disaster by author duo Bradley Lejeune. I really do enjoy this series. It's independently published. The first book is the McMurdo Rift. Go get it. Go read it. If you like sci-fi adventure. Prologue. Greta crouched in this stinking black alley outside the spaceport of Home Nest, capital city, because her father once went bungee jumping on Earth. I just hope that Jeff has a more prominent role in this book. J.R.R. Tolkien's The Book of Lost Tales 1. I love Tolkien. I love him. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. 1. The Cottage of Lost Play. On the cover of the now very battered high school exercise books, of which some of the lost tales are composed and my father wrote, The Cottage of Lost Play introduced the book. Oh, okay. Okay. Now it happened on a certain time that a traveller from far countries, a man of great curiosity, was by the desire of strange lands and ways of dwellings of unaccustomed folk, brought in a ship as far west even as the lonely island Tol Eressar in the fairy speech, to which the gnomes call Dol Fedwen, and the land of release, and the great tale hangs hitherto. Cannot wait to read that one. And the last book is a brick. It's actually book 2. So this is Peter F. Hamilton's The Temporal Void. I managed to pick this up for $2. It is book 2 in the series, so I have to find the first book. It is only... why is it so big? It is 746 pages. Yet it is a chunk. Anyway. So yes, the first book is called The Dreaming Void. So I've got to find that. But I've got a while to find it. And chapter 1, strangely enough, it was the oak trees which Justine Bernelli always remembered from the day Centurion Station died. She was hurrying towards the safety bunker doors along with everyone else in the garden dome when she glanced back over her shoulder. The thick emerald grass was littered with the debris of the party, mashed canapes stomped into the grass, broken vases and plates juddering about as the colossal gravity waves washed across the station in fast, unrelenting succession. Overhead, the timid light emitted by the nebulas surrounding the galactic core was now smeared into pastel streaks by the Doom's misty emergency force fields. Oh, I can't wait to give this a go. I really think Peter F. Hamilton is going to be an author for me. So yeah, that is every book on my physical TBR. Thank you for joining me. Do any of them sound interesting to you? Which one would you read first? At the moment, because I am struggling to read, I am literally just reading the books that have been on the TBR longest first, the fiction books. When it comes to the technical writing books, I'll get to them eventually. But yeah. Anyways, thank you for joining me. I would say like, comment and subscribe, but we are all adults here. Do whatever the fuck you want, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye!